Hello and welcome to the world of sailing. We're here in sunny Sunderland for the first race in the Aquatonic Skiff Grand Prix season.
The weather is absolutely fantastic, but the sea swell is causing havoc. And in fact, in these waves, even getting off the beach is a nightmare, as you can see.
Crews struggle to hold their boats into the wind with the vicious shore break pushing them back on the beach.
Just how bad is it getting off the beach?
Very difficult, because you've got to put the rudder on, which is a fixed rudder. So you've got to get out far enough and deep enough to get the rudder on. When we do that, the waves keep crashing in, knocking the boat around, and it's hard.
The 18-foot skiff was developed in Sydney Harbour, Australia. Warmer water there, though. The Aussies wanted a dinghy with a massive sail area in their quest for speed. Skiffs really are sailed on the edge. 3 crew hook onto trapezes and stand out on the racks to counteract the pressure in those massive sails. It's a frightening roller coaster ride. So who are the main contenders? Russell Peters is a rookie, his first season on skiffs, but he's used to speed from the Ultra 30 circuit. Andy Budgeon is a full-time sailor. He's always on fast planing boats. Not short of practice, this crew should be good. Tim Robinson, last year's UK champion, out to defend his title, but one crew change, will it matter? And Dave Paul still seeking a victory in something. Could 1997 be his year? So here we are in Sunderland, south of Tyneside. The new football stadium stands proud. More on Sunderland FC later in the programme. The city is undergoing major development. For the yachties, a new marina and boating facilities. In fact, £70 million has been spent to transform the old shipyards. But now it's back to the beach and the crews are already attracting plenty of attention. It's day 1, race 1, and over to our commentator, Eddie Warden-Owen.
2 enthusiastic Sunderland supporters check out the course. It's a windward-leeward course. Start and finish gate to the windward mark, spinnakers up, crash and burn to the leeward mark, and then into the wind again through the start and finishing gate. The conditions at Sunderland are very difficult. A big swell greets the competitors just as they leave the beach. We're on board with Musto, Ian Southworth and his crew, and they're trying to get the spinnaker up. And it fills. A gust hits them, over they go, it's a capsize. There'll be a lot of this today. It's early in the season and they're short of practice, but Russell Peters was able to dominate race 1. In his first Grand Prix, he won the race from Tim Robinson in Rockport. Into race 2, and we're on board with Tim Robinson.
Okay, let's go guys, let's go. Come on, let's go. Come on.
You can see the difficult conditions that Tim and his crew are having. They've stopped the boat, and it's like riding a bike. The boats don't like being stopped. They get very unbalanced. Aquatonic's just capsized, just to windward. They're having trouble with the conditions. That's Ian and Andy Budgeon. Let's have a look at Aquatonic again. You can see how much swell there is, making it very difficult. And all the crew just don't quite make it. The stern goes in, she tags back again, they're completely out of control, over she goes. So we're on board with Rockport, we've tacked and we're sailing up towards the windward mark. It's Tim Robinson, the helmsman, he's got the head cam. They managed to come out of their bad tack and they're flying along. All 3 out on the trapeze wire. This is Ian Southworth in Musto. You can see the conditions are very gusty and there's a very big swell. It makes it very difficult for them. And they go into attack, crossing from one side of the boat to the other. Trying to hook on, push their weight out onto the rack. And coming across on starboard, that's Typhoon, Martin Goodlad. And Caterham Cars, Mike Bees has to bear away, puts the rack in and stops dead. At the top mark, Ian Southworth is first. Now they've got to get the spinnaker up. testing conditions for all the crews. Martin Goodlad in Typhoon, second. Third, Rockport. We're on board with Rockport as they go to put their spinnaker up. Now this is where it gets very difficult. Tim Robertson has to keep the boat upright. The spinnaker has to go up without capsizing. Bowman hoisting the spinnaker as fast as he can.
Wait up a bit. Come on, Jerry, wait, mate.
Tim Robinson calling them up onto the rack. Russell Peters in DBS just above Dave Hall in base 1. Caterham Cars just behind them as well. Rockport with the spinnaker up. Now, the important thing today is to keep the boat upright all the way around the course. And in the distance you see the leading boats jibing. There's Musto gone into a jibe. Oh, and Typhoon's capsized. Rockport jibing in front, and she's capsizing. Whoa, the bowman going straight onto the centre plate. Very tough conditions for these boys. Let's have a look what happens to Rockport. So Typhoon capsizes. They've got no choice. They're in the way. They jibe and capsize straight on top of them. But Bruce Grant, look at him there, falling over the side. Lucky he didn't hurt himself on the centre plate. Base 1, Dave Hall, got the spinnaker up, but he's trying to get it filling and trying to negotiate the traffic ahead of him. It's wet, very windy right now. Can he keep this boat going? Spinnaker now filling. Yep, and he gets the crew out on the rail, and suddenly the boat flies down these waves. Now he's got to jibe, get that boat down to the leeward mark. Russell Peters in DBS. He's got to get through the start-finishing gate. In control, or is he in control? Spinnaker flapping. He's going to have to sail high. A big gust hits him. He's got to get through the start-finishing gate. So they just let the spinnaker flap. Sail as high as they can. You can see the mark on the left of the picture there. We're on board with Ian Southwood. He's struggling to make the mark. No, he's struggling to keep the boat upright. He's capsized. Disaster for Ian. Can he get the boat upright without losing the lead? And he swims to the centre plate. Now he's going to get himself on board. Russell Peters taking advantage of this. And Russell keeps the boat upright, gets straight into the lead. He goes from 6th to 1st just by keeping the boat upright in these very testing conditions. This is Paul Towers in Oxford Vehicle Leasing. Nice tack, under control in these conditions. You can see this carnage all around, boats trying to get themselves upright. But DBS is the one that's done the best job in the boat handling in these conditions. Russell Peters and his crew. Russell in his first season, but he's got a very experienced team with him. And even they're having trouble keeping it upright. Paul Towers not putting his spinnaker up. Yes, he is. He's got round the top mark. Don't slow the boat down. They get very unstable, and in he goes. Oxford Vehicle Leasing, over she goes. And this is Musto Ian Southworth, another capsize, not a good race for him. And base 1, looks like she's going to go over as well. It's the crewman on the leeward side, Rob Dawson. It looks as if he's pulling the boat in. Yep, that's not fast either. But it's Russell Peters that managed to keep the boat in these very difficult conditions all the way through to win the race.
So the new kid on the block, Russell Peters, makes his mark. Robinson has to settle for 2nd. Mike Bees will be happy in 3rd on a difficult day. But what sort of person sails a skiff? Let's meet some of the crews, and question number 1, are they yuppies?
Well, what's the definition of a yuppie?
I think the yuppies are all dead now, aren't they? Everyone has to...
They went out with the Conservatives, didn't they?
They did,
yeah.
They did. We're New Labour, definitely.
There's one or two that are yuppies, but we're never allowed to be rude about Tim Robinson, because he might not invite us to his next party, or keep us in his inheritance, so we're never rude about Tim.
Why do they call him the Earl of Rutland?
Let's just say we live in London and we all work in London, but we sell a
Bruce
lot.
and I work.
I work a lot. What is your company? Look, this is not aimed at me. This is about talking to other people.
What do you do?
As little as possible.
So do you have to be rich to sail these boats?
One of us has to be rich. That's up to you to guess which one's rich.
The boat will cost you 20,000, and it will cost you probably 5 to 10 a year to run it.
So is it a good image then, you know, when you tell people, yeah, I'm a skiff sailor?
I think they do like it, actually. Yeah. I think that one likes it.
Well, girls tend to like it quite a lot.
Do they?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know. I'm married.
Well, I got married.
You found a wife because of it, didn't you? You took up skiff sailing and found a wife, so it must come.
Ask us in the morning after we've been to the nightclub.
Back to the racing. Tough conditions. Outside Sunderland, this is the start of race 3.
35, we're going to be slightly early.
On board with Ian and Andy Budgeon, coming to the start.
30.
You can hear the countdown. Boats lining up, ready to start. Look how tough the conditions are. Very big swell from the southeast. Gusty conditions. There's Aquatonic accelerating.
Okay. 17, 16, 15.
This is DBS having to tack for Aquatonic.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
And that's the start. Aquatonic make a great start. DBS underneath her. Can she keep her air clear?
Bit of bang deck to get chance.
The voice you hear, that's Andy Budgeon on Aquatonic. And we're on board with Russell Peters on DBS. Aquatonic and DBS well ahead of the other boats. Both made a very aggressive starts. You can see this lump and chop. Wind blowing about 15 to 20 knots. But it's very gusty as we go on board DBS. You can see the crews having to move in and out very quickly to keep the boat upright. Good shot of DBS, only 2 out on the wire. Wind suddenly died. Aquatonic with 3 on the wire, sailing faster.
But slowly. Yeah.
Going into attack. Ian Budgeon with a head cam. You see how they move across the boat, clip onto the trapeze wire, and out on the other side. They're sailing towards the top mark. DBS will have to tack as well. Here they go. Russell Peters with a head cam. They tack, boat stops, they've got to keep it upright. And he's got a problem with another boat coming across on starboard. Oh, you can see the bow of it there, very close from Rockport. DBS was on port tack. It meant that he had to keep clear of Rockport. He only just made it. Very good judgment. Rockport tacks to follow. You can see how big the swell is. Very difficult conditions for these crew. Rockport accelerates, chases after DBS, but who's going to be first at the top mark? And this is the view from Russell Peters' head cam. The mark's on the left, and that's Aquatonic just round the front of the jib. Now the crews will have to go round the mark, bear away and put the spinnakers up. Russell and his crew tacking. Looks like they're going to lead. Rockport chasing hard behind. But Aquatonic is second, closely followed by trim cars. And this is Russell Peters first. Crew going in to hoist the spinnaker. On board with Russell. Russell out on the trapeze wire, crew pulling the spinnaker up. Get it filling. Now with Ian Budgeon.
How is it?
You can see Aquatonic struggling there to get the spinnaker up. Going very slowly. This is when the boats become very unstable and dangerous. Russell Peters has his spinnaker up. They've got problems on Aquatonic.
Tyne! Andy.
There's obviously a big problem there. Andy Budgeon on the trapeze wire, trying to keep the boat upright while they're trying to solve the problems. And away in the distance is DBS. She's just put the spinnaker up and disappeared. Good sailing by this team. On board DBS, you can see Zeb Elliott in the middle of the boat sorting the ropes out. And behind them, Aquatonic's got a spinnaker up. On board with Ian Budgeon again, that's Dick Parker, the front man, as they get themselves ready to go into a jibe. This is where Ian Budgeon, the man with a head cam, is going to have to take the sheet.
Andy.
Here they go.
Bill.
Good communication as they try and get through the jibe. Yeah, if they make it, they get the spinnaker filling on the new side. Tim Robinson having trouble, his spinnaker acting more like a brake. And Typhoon, Martin Goodlad, setting straight over the top of him, taking advantage of the crew mistake. And down to leeward, you see Aquatonic. And base one, Dave Hall, closed up very quickly. And Rockport's off. They sail down to the leeward mark. DBS has a commanding lead at this point. So it's Typhoon, Rockport, Dave Hall in base one. DBS coming down to the bottom mark. Commanding lead. Aquatonic is going to have to drop the spinnaker and jibe at the same time. Here she goes. Very difficult manoeuvre.
Whoa.
Oh, and they've capsized. Second place gone to Aquatonic. Rockport having to jibe inside them, so too is Typhoon. Close between these two boats for second place. Base one going to have to negotiate Aquatonic too. There she goes into a jibe. Oh, she's not going to make it. Capsize straight on top of Aquatonic. What a tangle. This is Rockport and Typhoon close to the leeward mark. They've got it coming together. Somebody's going to be penalised for that. Both managing to get round, still upright. And we go back. This is Ian Budgeon's head cam. Base one capsizing straight over the top. Nobody hurt, no damage, but that's a real tangle. Gonna take a long time for these two boats to get out of this mess. Could be the end of the race for the two of them. But Mike Bees and Kater Ricars had a good downwind leg. Got through to fourth. Good aerial shot. Look how far they are from the centre line of the boat. But at the windward mark, it's DBS, Russell Peters and his very experienced crew, closely followed by Rockport. They've got to get the spinnaker up. Most important, they keep the boat upright. Capsize could be disastrous. Look at that, great set. Straight out on the wire. Look at the boat taking off. They're so light, so powerful, these boats, they fly downwind. And in second place, Tim Robinson and his crew in Rockport. Oh, look at the rack going in. And Bruce Grant's hurt his hand. Can he hold on to second place?
And the results, 3 wins out of 3 for Russell Peters. Robinson is still playing bridesmaid. Mike Bees hanging on to third.
So going into the last race, it's Russell Peters in the lead overall. Just has to keep the boat upright to win the regatta. But Aquatonic capsizes again. In she goes. And base one follows suit, going downwind. Nice rip in a spinnaker. But Rockport takes victory, passing DBS on the final beat. It's been a tough weekend for all these crews.
So finally, Robinson gets to shift Peters from top spot. And 3 is obviously Mike B's lucky number today. And on to the overall results. Andy Budgeon finished all 4 races to take 3rd. Tim Robinson is in 2nd, but not far behind Russell Peters with an impressive 1st.
Very difficult for an old man like me. I found it exceptionally hard. And there's so much improvement to do. We thought we sailed so badly, and yet we still won. So it might sound a little conceited, but I think we've got a lot of improving to do.
I was told on Wednesday that I had to sail. And I've never been in a skiff before. Well, I've sailed on a skiff, but I've certainly never helmed a skiff. So out there, it was just so hectic. I was in control maybe 10% of the time. It was just, you know, completely out of control.
Last year, we didn't have a single regatta that was this windy. And it does take a lot of practice, you know, to get quite good at it. And this early in the season, this windy, was a bit more than most of us really bargained on, I think.
So what a gruelling weekend. Out of 10 starters, only 6 completed the series of 4 races, and there's a couple who are going home in pieces.
And Russell Peters has certainly made an impact, but that could all change in Southend. Join us next week on The World of Sailing. Hello and welcome to the World of Sailing, and we've moved down the east coast from Sunderland to Southend.
It's round 2 of the Skiff Grand Prix. Russell Peters on DBS is in the lead, but anything can happen in this game, and he's up there to be shot down.
Marksmen aiming high include sailmaker Ian Southworth aboard Musto, and computer software engineer Mike Bees, who drives Caterham. Day 1 at Southend in a rough Thames estuary makes launching difficult. Rockport gets away, but has a struggle in the 30-knot gusts. Typhoon's crew are always game for anything, even if this time it's acrobatics. Sensibly, with most of the fleet still ashore, racing is abandoned for the day. But for those out there, the problem is how to get back. Rockport heads west for quieter waters in the shelter of Canvey Island to think out the problem. But if you're out there anyway, goes the thinking aboard Musto, why not have some fun? Let's see how far a skiff can jump out of the water over the steep and short waves. Sooner or later though, you've got to come in, and that's where a lot of friends can be very useful. When racing does get started on Sunday, the course set close to Southend's famous pier is a testing windward-leeward in choppy seas. Commentator Eddie Warden-Owen describes the action on the water.
Difficult conditions in Leigh-on-Sea, on the east coast and the River Thames. It's going to be gusty, raining, clouds coming across, very tough conditions for these boys. As you can see, Rockport tacking there, nearly dipping a wing in the water. As they approach the starting line, this is Ericsson making a brave port tack start. Typhoon dipping a wing in, oh, she's capsized. Ericsson dipping the windward wing in, that's Mike McIntyre, Olympic gold medalist. New to the skiff racing and finding it very tough. Caterham cars stuck in irons, can't tack. But first round the top mark, it's Typhoon, Martin Goodlad, closely followed by Dave Hall in base 1. Now they've got to hoist the spinnakers and fly downwind. Third, Aquatonic. Fourth, Musto. Oh, that's not the way to go round the mark. Can they keep it up? Ian Southworth, the helmsman, look, just gets back on the side, carries on as if nothing had happened. Spinnaker up, boys. Spinnaker very wet as they hoist it up at the top of the mast. And this is Russell Peters in DBS. Russell out on the trapeze wire as Zeb Elliott hoists the spinnaker. Good hoist. And away they go downwind. But first, Typhoon, closely followed by base 1, Dave Hall. Picked up a gust there, flying through to leeward. Look at the conditions, pouring with rain as this squall comes through. Some of the boats have made a choice between the big rig and the small rig. Here's Aquatonic, she's got a big rig, chasing hard close behind. Rockport and Musto. Oh, and Rockport's hit a mast. That's Paul Towers, he's going to be out of the competition. Looks like no damage to Rockport. And she just hit the mast and broke the top off. Dave Hall, has he made the right decision? Got the small rig up, so has Musto, but she's capsized in the squall. And this is Ericsson, she's gone in too. Mike McIntyre taking a swim. As they rescue Paul Towers' broken mast, it's Typhoon that goes into the lead. Again with a small rig. Now the wind seems to be dying, so the first two boats are going to be closed by the boats with a bigger rig, Aquatonic being one. But Dave Hall takes advantage of the gusty conditions, passes Typhoon to take the lead, but Aquatonic's not far behind. Ian Budgeon and Andy Budgeon chasing hard with a big rig, bigger spinnaker, much more horsepower as the wind starts to lighten. Close behind is Aquatonic. DBS and Rockport are also chasing. As they round the leeward mark, it's Dave Hall, base 1. The wind has lightened considerably. This is a chance for Aquatonic to take the lead. She's got much more horsepower. She'll have all three people on the wire as they round the mark. Look at that, base 1 seriously underpowered. Aquatonic, much more power, she takes the lead. Conditions are lightened off considerably. Big rig is the only way to go as they sail to the top mark. And Aquatonic goes down to finish the race and win the second race of the day.
We still don't feel that comfortable in this thing. It's still quite big. I think, you know, we could do with a bit more practice before I'm happy.
So we're into race 3.
Yeah, come on, let's go.
And that's the voice of Russell Peters on board DBS. You see him there with a head cam. As they start the third race, good start by DBS. Excellent start by Mike McIntyre and Ericsson. And Rockport close behind. Oh, and Ericsson's put the wing in. Notice how the boat just stops when they do that. It's all about boat handling. Russell Peters on DBS going into attack. Head cam doesn't make it easy for these helmsmen as they have to move out on the trapeze wire. And this is the Budgeons, Andy and Ian on Aquatonic. Oh, it looks as if they've hit Dave Hall on base 1. Yes, Rob Dawson there pointing at them. They're going to have to do a penalty. And this involves doing a circle. Here they go, they're bearing away to jibe. Now they have to come back on the wind. Oh, and a slip by Andy Budgeon there, and the boat's over. Dick Parker, very quick. The Australian skiff sailor knows what it's all about. There he is on the centre plate. Now all they have to do is to bring the boat up right. Get the boat up as... Oh, and they're in the water. That's not going to help them. But first to the top mark, DBS. Greg Wells and Zeb Elliott.
Come on, lads, on the track.
That's it. Encouragement from Russell Peters to get the spinnaker up as quickly as they can. The DBS First round's good hoist. Now they're flying downwind. These tricky conditions. Second was Rockport, third Musto just ahead of Typhoon. Typhoon made a very good hoist. Musto powering away from her, chasing after Rockport. Rockport going to a jibe to chase DBS, closely followed by Musto. DBS with a big rig. Wind having lightened, she's flying downwind with a big spinnaker. Good view from on board.
What breeze coming? Where's the boy then?
Russell Peters asking Zeb Elliott, tell him where the mark is. Zeb looking underneath the spinnaker as they go through the jibe, approaching the leeward mark. So it's Zeb Elliott on the wire, sorry, Greg Wells looking for other boats. Caterham Cars and Typhoon crossing tacks, and in the distance it's DBS and Musto, Ian Southworth. Quite a big difference here. Caterham Cars with a big rig and Ian Southworth with a small one. Big difference in boat speed as Russell Peters comes to the bottom mark. Zeb Elliott pulling down that spinnaker, stuffing into the bag. Russell Peters out on the wire looking at the mark. That's the mark they have to round on the left of the picture. Balancing the boat as they go around the mark and sailing upwind. Zeb Elliott pulling in the jib and getting out on the wire. Sailing a faultless race as they come to the finish.
So after their win in race 1, the Aquatonic team add race 2 to their successes. But DBS turns the tables in race 3 with Aquatonic nowhere thanks to that capsize. Rockport's consistency keeps them in the points. Going into the last race, the top 3 have it all to play for. Join us after the break for the deciding action. Welcome back to Southend-on-Sea and the Skiff Grand Prix. Tim Robinson sets the scene for the final race.
I think basically whoever wins out of the three of us will obviously win. And I think the point's very close, 1 point in it. Of which the Budgeons and Aquatonic have a slight advantage and us slightly over Russell. So it's really going to be about whoever wins the last race will win the series.
The scene is set then. It's Rockport, DBS or Aquatonic. Which one's going to win the race and win the Southend Grand Prix as they line up for the start? Notice the conditions have dramatically changed. Another cloud and squall has come through. A lot of shouting. Rockport controlling DBS and Aquatonic. Between these three boats, we're on board with Ian Budgeon.
15, 14.
As he counts down for the time, you see the mark ahead. He's got to go to the right-hand side of that mark.
7.
There are other boats in his way. He's going to have to wait. So Musto gets the best start. And Typhoon and Typhoon's caught the pin. That's not clever. Not going to take her anywhere. DBS dips behind her, so does Aquatonic. Martin Goodlad completely stuck to that mark. And there's a boat over the line. DBS in the midst of that gust. Rockport to leeward. Musto with the best start, flying into the distance. And this is Dave Hall tacking. Russell Peters having to keep out of his way as they sail up to the first windward mark. On board Ian Budgeon on Aquatonic. Good view of Musto ahead there. Dave Hall it was who was over the line. Base 1 having to go back and restart as he sails off trying to catch the others in the distance. So now the decision is whether the big rig or the small rig's going to pay. Aquatonic, DBS have all got big rigs. DBS tacking underneath as they come to the top mark. Musto is first round. She's got a small rig. Very gusty conditions. DBS not laying the mark. Going to have to sail round and round it a second time. Rockport second, Aquatonic third. These two for the winners overall at the moment. DBS having to re-round the top mark. Ian Budgeon pulling the halyard up for all he's worth. Good view from on board. Straight out onto the wire. And Rockport hoisting the spinnaker at the same time. But Mustoe making the decision with a small rig, flies off into the distance, chased hard by Rockport. Conditions increasing all the time. Mustoe jibes to go through the gate. And the conditions dramatically increasing. Aquatonic catching Rockport and jibing away. Nice jibe by the boys on Aquatonic. Dick Parker, a Skiff man from Australia, spinnaker trimming as they sail downwind. Look how fast Rockport is going, flying downhill. On the edge of control, these guys. They sail towards the leeward mark. Oh, and Typhoon's the first casualty. In she goes, capsized. And another one's gone in. That looks like Caterham Cars. Bit of a slog for Typhoon. Got to get the boat up as quickly as possible. They approach the leeward mark. Mustoe jibing. Dropping the spinnaker at the same time. And as the boat slows down, it gets very unstable, just like riding a bike. Good view on board with Aquatonic.
Read the jibe. Let's go.
Ian Budgeon with the head cam, calling the jibe. Let's go, he says. They come to the bottom mark. Stuffing the spinnaker down, getting it into the bag. Get that main in, he says. A lot of aggression as they get inside Rockport.
I think you need it.
Calling Dick Parker up to the windward rail. Get all three out, get the power on. But Rockport's made a better rounding. She can see her just to leeward. She's forcing Aquatonic to tack. Yep, Aquatonic having to tack away. Good race between these two, but Mustoe's just sailed off into the distance. So Aquatonic tacks away, Rockport tacks to follow, to cover. It's what we need to do. They know who their opposition is. The conditions increasing, not favouring these guys with a big rig. Dick Parker on the bow, they're adjusting, making the boat go faster. And the wind getting up again, Mustoe with the small rig. Oh, and the man nearly went in there. Dug the bow, the boat stopped, and the bowman nearly put himself in the water. Rockport at the top mark. Dig the wing in, look at that. Struggling to control the boat in these gusty conditions. You see the black cloud coming through. Now they've got to get the spinnaker up. Aquatonic on board with Ian Budgeon. Batten coming out of the mainsail. Oh, GBS! Oh, nose in. Boat nosedives, boat stops. Look at this. The crew just can't stop themselves going round the bow. Disaster for Russell Peters. And the wind's got up to 25 knots. Mustoe flying downwind. And Aquatonic's gone in. The Budgeons have put it in. Bang goes their chances. Can they get it up? The battle between them and Russell Peters. Rockport having trouble. And Rockport's going in. Disaster. Tim Robinson jumping into the water, getting clear of the boat. Now who can get the boat up as quickly? DBS, Aquatonic. You can see Rockport in the distance. It's a battle to get the boat up and on the course again. But Mustoe sailing through, made the right decision. Got the small sails up to go on to win. The Budgeons have got their boat up. Now all they have to do is get round the course because Rockport's got trouble. and they're wearing round. This is a old-fashioned term for tacking the boat rather than jibing. All they want to do is get round the course in good shape, but they know they've got the title if they can keep the boat upright. Rockport and DBS have had to pull out. The conditions too tough for them. But Ian Southworth sailing faultlessly in very difficult conditions. He and his crew have mastered the conditions, take first place in this race and second place overall in the Grand Prix. Good sailing.
Musto wins, a Typhoon sails superbly into second, and only Aquatonic of the leading trio survives. The overall win goes to Ian and Andy Budgeon and Dick Parker. Musto takes second by a point, while Rockport and DBS plummet. For Tim Robinson, Bruce Grant and Jerry Hill, the Southend Skiff Grand Prix wasn't all plain sailing. Rockport capsized in all directions, and the big rig they carried became too much. The centreboard broke through the hull, and eventually the lifeboat had to bring them home. Their troubles were only just beginning. Next stop, the press conference.
What happened?
The boat broke. It got a bit windy at the end, as you would have seen, and it was just a bit too much for it. We had the wrong sails on, and we capsized along with everybody else, and when we did it, we actually broke the boat, the centreboard, put a hole in it, and it's nearly sunk, as you'll see. My poor vessel.
Well, we were pretty pleased. A bit surprised, actually. We didn't have a very good middle race.
What about those runs downwind under two sails?
I mean, really, we should have gone for the spinnaker, but it just looked like it was just going to be too much. And then two-sail jibing is even harder than three-sail jibing. So, I mean, I hate to have to say it, but, you know, we just wore around, just tat around. I mean, it's not... It's something in the past I've said I'll never, ever do, but we had to do it, unfortunately.
Were you under control then? Because things did look quite wild.
Under control? No, not at all.
What's your impression of Southend today? I mean, it's given you everything.
It has given everything, yeah. I mean, we've had light winds, sunny, and then we've had a bit of hail, I think. We've had everything. All we haven't had is a nice cup of tea on the beach yet.
Well, Russell, how did you find that last race?
About as bad as everybody else. No, yeah, it's a bit fresh actually, wasn't it, really, for us?
Sliding down the wires, because there are so many wires on the boat. When you get catapulted, you don't generally get a lot of warning, and certainly you can't really judge where you're going to land. So often the wires get in the way, and injuries occur because of that.
But I mean, how does the wire hurt you?
Well, literally on this one, I landed on the wire with my full body weight behind it and slid down on the wire. So it was like a cheese wire on on any flesh.
I actually haven't seen a huge amount of people being maimed from skiff racing, although a couple of lads have been pulled from the water after being trapped underneath the boat and that sort of stuff. But guys have been taken to hospital from swallowing too much Sydney Harbour.
We were out over there earlier on this year, and we had a major wipeout. And talking about these little wires, I ended up actually wrapped around a little wire with a hook, and the boat went upside down, and before I knew it, all of a sudden Sydney was visible, then it wasn't, then it was all green. Thought, okay, no problem, I can get out of this. Faffed around with my hook for a little while, no luck at all. Getting quite panicky by then, and then actually we wear these harnesses, which actually support you on the side of the boat. So I had to actually get my head out of the harness and get my body out of the harness, and then actually manage to surface.
That's one of the reasons why you don't wear life jackets.
Yeah.
Because if you can't swim down to unhook yourself, then you know, you really are in trouble. So you don't wear a life jacket. You can always swing down to get untangled. So whilst most people that sail do wear life jackets for the obvious safety reason, generally skiff sailing wise, it's a far greater risk to wear one than not to.
Dick Parker, Ian and Andy Budgeon, relatively unscathed, the overall winners.
Well, what incredible conditions here in Southend. The crews have suffered everything from sunshine to thunder and lightning and a huge squall for the final race.
And at the halfway stage, it's the Budgeon brothers who lead the way. Join us next week for round 3 from Southampton, when the weather certainly couldn't throw anything more at us. Hello and welcome to the world of sailing, and we're here in Southampton for round 3 of the Skiff Grand Prix.
The racetrack is going to be really testing for the crews. It's squeezed between the pontoons of Southampton Boat Show and the shipping yard. It's very short, there are going to be lots of laps, and it's going to be really tiring.
Skiff Grand Prix round 1 at Sunderland ended in a win for DBS from Rockport and a lot of spectacular capsizes. Round 2 at Southend saw more boats falling over and a win for Hampshire's Budgeon brothers. So overall, Aquatonic holds a 4-point lead from DBS. Rockport is third, but looks vulnerable to attacks from Mustoe and Base 1. A steep launching ramp at Town Quay gives the skiffs access to the tight racecourse off Mayflower Park. As normal, the course is a simple windward-leeward, short and very physical, but ideal for spectators visiting the boat show. Commentator Eddie Warden-Owen picks up the action on day 1.
It may be light and shifty conditions, but for Dave Ovington it was a disaster. He and Martin Jones break an experimental new mast in race 1 of the Southampton Skiff Grand Prix. This is David Witt, an Australian skiff sailor. He's on his day off before the start of the Whitbread. But the light and shifty conditions, not easy for the competitors. The wind full of holes. Base 1, Dave Hall, approaching the leeward mark. Aquatonic making a good rounding. And here in the second race, Dave Hall having to let 3, possibly 4 boats inside her. Russell Peters getting inside in DBS. For the winner in Caterham Cars was Mike Bees, winner of race 2. In race 3, the battle was between these two boats, Rockport and Base 1. DBS showing she had the speed, but not starting well at all. Always pulling in from the back. Base 1 round the mark first, Rockport closely behind. On Caterham Cars, the second race winner, struggling in these shifty conditions, nearly capsizing. But Aquatonic sailing round the outside, showing how it should be done. And Rockport picking up a gust, sails straight over top of Base 1. Rockport wins race 3, Base 1 second, DBS third.
So a good first day for Rockport. DBS holds on to second. Caterham Cars makes a move, equal with Base 1.
5 seconds, 3, 2, 1, and they're off. Very close, one boat to the line. Ronstan had a very good start at the starboard end. Mustoe just behind. Ian Southworth obviously wanting to protect the right-hand side. Ian's going to be receiving some dirty wind from Ronstan. But those two boats look as if they are well in the lead at the moment. And as we move up, halfway up the first beat, and it's a very short course for these light and very manoeuvrable boats. We see the Budgeon boys. They are heading out to the right-hand side of the course, following Ian Southworth on Musto. And Musto, Aquatonic and Ron Stan. These look like the three boats that are going to lead the field as they come to the top mark. Ian Southworth has tacked. How's it going, Rydian?
They're looking good. These are two very experienced crews up the front here. Looking at Aquatonic just in front of us, we've got Dick Parker on the front there. Very experienced, done a lot of sailing in Australia.
But it's Ian Southworth going round the top mark. Crew pulling the spinnaker up, ready to go downwind.
We've got DBS coming in here on port. They're going to have to duck Ron Stan.
So first, Ian Southworth, second Aquatonic. These two quite a long way ahead of the bunch. We're following DBS down the course. They're going to come to the gate. They'll have to jibe. There they're going to the jibe, swapping the spinnaker from one side of the boat to the other. The wind behind them at this time, but of course they don't sail straight downwind. They have to sail at angles like they do going upwind. Coming to the top mark, you see Musto in a cloud of spray there. Nice breeze. He's got a good 30-second to 40-second advantage over the Budgeon brothers in Aquatonic.
And the Budgeon's looking very confident here, at pace, on a good gust, going downwind at speed. The boat's taking off, and they've got through the lead there. Musto's gone off into a hole on the right-hand side.
Yes, Aquatonic saw that Ian Southworth was in less wind, so they immediately jibed as they got their spinnaker up, picked up the gust, sailed straight over the top of Musto, and now they're a good 100 metres in the lead as they go into the jibe to come back through the gate. The race for first is between Aquatonic and Musto. Aquatonic has picked up a gust. She's gone off to a good minute lead. And now Ian is under pressure. Ian Southworth under pressure. You'll see just behind him, big gain there by DBS. And the Budgeons have a problem. The leaders have a problem. Budgeons have still got their spinnaker up. They've got the spinnaker trapped behind the mainsail. They're still sailing upwind, but their minute lead has been cut down to nothing. This is where Ian Southworth's going to be able to pass them. Disaster for the Budgeons. Musto, DBS, looks like Caterham Cars is going to get past them too.
In race 4, Ian Southworth starts his charge for the top. DBS holds on, while Mike Bees scores well. After 4 races, the top 3 boats have a point between each of them, and the rest, well, they're well adrift. So to race 5, and for this one, we're following base 1. Helmed by Dave Hall, but commentary from their main sheet man, Rob Dolson, who's in the middle of the boat. It's 30 seconds to the start.
We've just made a decision that the far end of the line is probably a better place to be for this start.
Very nice start by Dave Hall on base 1 at the pin end.
Now that was a good start.
Looks like the boats all want to go to the right. Very good start by Dave Ovington ahead of Musto.
Right, we're at the moment on the left-hand edge of the entire fleet, hopefully in better breeze. Now at the moment, because we're on the left-hand side, we're on port tack. When the boats up front come across, they will have right of way. Having to keep clear, making sure his bowsprit doesn't spear the lot. And first to the top mark is Dave Ovington going round. Musto's got their second. Aquatonic has got round third. I'm going to be going for the spinnaker hoist now. Well, that was an interesting first beat. A good start, but we should have tacked over onto the other side of the course earlier. It obviously had more breeze. Therefore, at the moment, we're quite far down the fleet. Yeah. Part of my job there, feed the spinnaker around the front of the boat. Allow Paul to get from one side of the boat to the other. Got Ericsson coming in under a lot of pace. That's Martin Goodlad underneath us. He's just called to say there's no water on for us. Yeah, okay. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I'd pick my mainsail up. Right, we pulled up quite a few places there.
DBS, I see, has gone over to the left-hand side. So it's Musto, base one, taking the right. And these two boats are fighting for third with Caterham cars.
Oh, Paul's going up to do a very tricky manoeuvre there.
Good, Paul, it's looking good.
We'll come back.
What's the problem there, Brilliant?
They've got the retrieval line, the elastic caught round the Dolphin striker on the pole, but I think if they just go for it and give it some beans, it'll just rip that elastic.
Good work by this crew, and if they hold this position, they'll finish sixth.
Well, join us after the break to find out why Olympic gold medalist Mike McIntyre chooses to race a skiff.
Welcome back to Southampton, and now let's hear from Olympic gold medalist Mike McIntyre on Grand Prix skiff racing.
I'm a dinghy sailor by trade, as it were. That's where all started, and this is really just going back to dinghy sailing, but at a very, very high level. The thing about the 18-foot skiff is it's really the hardest boat you can possibly choose to sail, and the speeds are so big that the mistakes get magnified. So although we're not doing all that well, we're just beginners. We just started this year, and it takes a long time, a lot of hours to really get comfortable in the boat. And because the boats are going so fast, the leaders seem to be an awful long way ahead, but actually time-wise they're not that far ahead.
When you were looking at the other people you're competing against, it looks like very much a young man's sport. I mean, I think I would actually up the average age as well. I mean, is that something that you've noticed?
Yeah, I'm definitely the top end of the scale. But I think a lot of it's actually to do with teamwork and agility. You want to be fit, you want to be quite strong, but actually it's getting the teamwork together. If you get your technique right, then that can make up an awful lot for fitness.
Are you enjoying it, though?
Yeah, we're having a ball.
Thanks very much, Mike. Thank you.
15 seconds to the start. There's a bit of action going on here. Some boats are early, having to go down the line. Tonic has won. Oxford Vehicle Leasing. Aquatonic Rider, the committee boat, holding. And the all clear, says the race committee. Good start by Aquatonic, just above Rockport and DBS. Perfect start by the Budgeons. They're not sure what to do. Are they going to tack? They're holding everybody at the moment as they go out on starboard tack with base one underneath them. Excellent start by Aquatonic there, Ridian.
Yes, so it looks like the breeze is certainly filling into the right, and Russell has made a good call there. He's tacked off quickly onto port. Not a good start by him, but he may well be sailing into more breeze.
DBS is the first one to hit the new wind. She's on the right-hand side, she's leading. Second, Musto, and third at this point is Aquatonic. Base one has come through to take second place by going over to the right-hand side, and Musto has dropped a place. DBS goes around first. Very close behind is base one.
Looking back down in the fleet, Robinson is not happy in Rockport. Lost a lot of ground out on the left, and he's going to have to work hard to keep his position. Only 4 points behind Peters, who's now in the lead.
Aquatonic here, and they've got a penalty to do. They're going into their jibe, and they've capsized.
That capsize I could attribute to the head cam. Ian there just got caught under the boom caught the head cam, and he was down to leeward.
Not having a good day. Ripped their spinnaker when leading in the first race, had problems in the second race, and capsized in the third.
Down the course, Russell Peters in good air now on that left-hand side. 3 stringing it, 3 of them out on the wire. Base 1 just seems to have found a hole in the wind and has stopped. DBS just rounding the leeward mark. And we've got a fight here in this soft breeze between Caterham 21, Mustoe and Base 1 for 3rd place.
Looks as if DBS is still ahead, but the gap has definitely closed. Look at this, Mustoe is caught right up. Only 2 or 3 boat lengths between the two of them. Big gain to Ian Southworth on the right-hand side.
Russell Peters there, nice hoist by the guys. They've got that spinnaker filling within 2 boat lengths, looking good. And a good bear away here. Notice how they just keep the speed on as they bear away, coming into a jibe set.
Looks as if the spinnaker's caught on the back of the jib, and it's a big problem. A lot of shouting going on, but now it comes free. They pick up a gust, but that was really, really expensive. Russell Peters looked as if he was in a little bit of light air just to leeward of them, but he picked up the gust, took advantage of the mistake, and he's extended the lead. You have to be very physical on these boats, Ridian. They've got to be very agile and very tough.
Yeah, look at that. The guys have picked up a gust there. You saw Simon there in the middle man. He had to sprint to get out there. They've got a lot of pressure on here. They're going for an early drop, pulling the sheet round to windward. Jared now takes over, pulling the foot of the spinnaker in, heading up gently. Simon will step out while Jared's still working hard up the front there to get that spinnaker stuffed away, and then he'll have to step out on the rack, and that guy will be breathing hard.
And the top mark, it's Russell Peters. Got 2 more laps. Just alongside Konica. Close behind is Mustoe. Oxford Vehicle Leasing still ahead of Rockport, but Rockport's closed down the gap. There's 1 more race to go, so Rockport has to get through to 3rd place to minimise the points differential between themselves and DBS. Russell Peters and his crew sailed a perfect race as they go down, crossing the finish line, and there goes the gun, and they're happy.
So DBS scores their 2nd win of the regatta, then it's Mustoe and Base 1. Paul Towers makes a welcome appearance in 4th, Mike Bees is 5th, Rockport out of contention in 6th. Into the last race, DBS leads overall, Rockport needs a good result, Mustoe challenges for top spot. So it's all down to the final race.
It's a battle between DBS, over on the right-hand side, who's got 2 penalties to do. Russell Peters interfered with Aquatonic. She had to do a penalty, couldn't get out of Aquatonic's way, and is having to do a 2nd penalty. Here she is, finishing her 1st penalty, going into the 2nd one. And of course her main opposition is on the left-hand side of the course. It's Rockport. Rockport tacking onto port, started at the pin end of the line, had a very good start. Russell Peters coming to the line now is going to be a long, long way behind. This is going to be very tough for him, Ridian.
Yeah, currently Russell leads Rockport by 5 points, and they're going to have to do a lot of work to make their way back up through this fleet. The wind's not going to be very forgiving today, and certainly he's going to have to hunt hard to make his way to the front end of the fleet.
Russell taking the left-hand side, looking for more pressure. And on the right-hand side, Mustoe looks as if she's going to be 1st at the top mark, but it's quite a bunch coming into the top mark. Russell Peters being lifted, getting more pressure on the left. He likes it over on this left-hand side. He's been here before, and he's made a big gain on the leaders, not so far ahead. 4th, around the mark is Rockport. The Ronstand just stuck in the water, giving Mustoe the opportunity to get clean away. Russell Peters very close behind.
Russell here got problems at the windward mark. Eddie, how do you think he's going to make his way out of that?
Well, the big problem he's got, there's no wind there. He's got to get round the mark. Musto, you can see Musto behind him, going to a good 200-yard lead ahead of the boys approaching the mark. Base 1 and Rockport have got more pressure on the right-hand side as we look down this leg. Russell Peters jibing. Is that a good move, Ridian?
Yeah, he's jibed out of the long queue of starboard jibe boats here. He's got pressure. Look at that. Beautiful set. Pop the kite out. They've got wind. They've got pressure. And they're streaking away from all these people on the right-hand side who are hunting for the breeze that just isn't there at the moment. Russell's doing very well here. He may well yet pull it out of the bag.
And his main rival, Rockport, who are a long way ahead, struggling in light winds in the middle of the course. Peters just found his own breath of air. He could easily get through to second place from a disastrous start, starting so far behind. Peters is definitely through to third place. He's ahead of his main rival, Rockport. Now what can Peters do, because Rockport's on the inside. Rockport could get between them and the mark. If Peters can jibe and stay in the pressure, he'll be in good shape. But it's Ian Southworth done a nice job there, Ridian. He's got good pressure coming to the leeward mark.
Yeah, nice drop. They lucked in there. And again, DBS picking up that breeze that's just filled in over here. And we can see Rockport, Base 1 and Typhoon all lost the breeze there. It's disastrous if you don't look around the water and pick up these little puffs.
Secret must be in keeping these asymmetrics filling. We got Caterham Cars second, DBS third, DBS doing an early drop, and someone's capsized at the committee boat. Oxford Vehicle Leasing has capsized. DBS in a bit of a hole here. Aquatonic's got some pressure. She's coming in very quickly into the leeward mark. Can she get ahead of Rockport?
And Rockport does have a problem.
We've got a bit on here with Aquatonic. Okay, we've got to drop it. We've got to drop it. Drop it.
Rockport will have to give room to the Budgeons. They're coming in much faster. He's having to make room for them as they go round the mark.
Okay, going back, going back, going back.
Now he's jiving back to go round the mark. Budgeons made a big gain there. Good sailing.
Musto and Caterham Cars are in light wind on the right-hand side, and they look as if the wind has shifted to the left so that DBS has made a big gain. She's past Caterham Cars. She's closing in on Musto.
Looks like Russell Peters sailed from the last place through to second within 2 rounds.
First round the mark and doing a jibe set. Ian Southworth in Musto. Second, Russell Peters in DBS. But Musto having a bit of trouble setting their spinnaker. And DBS deciding to do a bear-away set. So first, Southworth. Second, DBS. Now can DBS sail over the top? Southworth sailing higher. Pressure coming. Great sailing for these two. And Peters has got some pressure, big pressure, look at that, straight over the top. Helicopter giving them the big extra pressure, take them into the lead. But Peters knows what he had to do. Good job, he's very pleased, won the regatta overall.
Finally then, DBS takes a commanding lead from Musto, Rockport just a point adrift. An excellent fourth for Caterham Cars.
Yeah, no, we just didn't sail particularly well. We haven't really done enough practice. We haven't really sailed well enough. I think Russell probably sailed better, and the results, and the Musto had a good day as well.
Quite short courses. Do you think
Marvellous.
that's good?
Absolutely marvellous, yeah.
Right.
Shorter the better.
Why?
More crashes, more action, more thrills and spills. Much better than long course.
I must admit, my starting was awful, but the crew's work was fantastic, and we kept on getting back at them quite quickly, really. I was very, very, very pleased.
Well, a sensational last race. Russell Peters coming from last to first. He wins the event here in Southampton, and they lead the Skiff's Grand Prix overall.
Well, join us next week on The World of Sailing for the final of the Skiff Grand Prix. We're heading to the resort of Pwllheli in North Wales.
and welcome to Pwllheli in Wales for the final races of this Skiff's Grand Prix.
Just 7 points separate the top four: DBS, Aquatonic, Musto and Rockport.
In round one at Sunderland, a wet and wild event was won by DBS, with Rockport and Aquatonic following on well behind the leading two. Then to Southend-on-Sea, where more wind and many capsizes later, Aquatonic wins from Musto in base one, while DBS and Rockport got their copybooks. Round three at Southampton for the boat show, and a gentle event results in a DBS win. Musto second and Rockport third.
So, going into the deciding round, Russell Peters in DBS leads the Budgeons in Aquatonic, with Tim Robinson and Ian Southworth equal third. Anyone could win overall.
Pwllheli is a superb venue for any sailing event, a sheltered harbour, but with open waters a stone's throw away. The Skiffs race a windward-leeward course just off the beach, start and then tack to the windward mark, blast downwind through the start-finish gate, then do it all again until they tell you to stop. The commentator's Eddie Warden-Owen. He tells the tale.
Day one of racing at Pwllheli. A moderate breeze under grey skies. And the start of the first race shows a long line and a long windward leg. Plenty of options for the fleet as they split, some going left, some going right. Base one, Musto, Aquatonic, Typhoon, DBS and Rockport head for the beach. Aquatonic and base one look good initially. Tacking for the mark, but first to the top mark is Caterham Cars, Mike Bees. Close behind it's Rockport. And looking good is Ericsson, Mike McIntyre, Olympic gold medalist. Good position. Oh, but he's caught the weather mark. Just stops dead in the water. Russell Peters, DBS, goes round the outside. McIntyre struggling to keep the boat upright. But off in the distance is Caterham Cars, Mike Bees. And Aquatonic has passed Rockport. Both these chasing hard. And despite the gentle conditions, Ian Southworth in Musto capsizes. Could be a problem with the boat. Yeah, and looks like something wrong with the rudder.
Pin, lower pin.
Yeah, that's the bit that joins the rudder to the back of the boat. In Caterham Cars, Mike Bees takes a well-deserved first place. Simon Nern diving into the water to fix the rudder. Getting the boat ready for race two. And they manage to get it fixed and go off to join the race. Meanwhile, the rest of the fleet start. Caterham Cars heads right this time. A lot of the boats go left. Russell Peters and DBS. Ian Southworth close behind. At the top mark first is Aquatonic. Closely followed by Rockport. Oh, but she's caught the mark. And base one, that looks like she's caught Rockport too. DBS goes round the outside, takes advantage of the mistake. Ian Southworth in Musto grabs the place back. But it's Aquatonic, the Budgeon brothers, sailing very well. Pushed hard by Russell Peters and his crew in DBS. Aquatonic rounds the windward mark. DBS has gained. Caterham is third. Oxford Vehicle Leasing. Oh, and they've caught the mark too. Will these boys learn? When we look at it again, you'll see the mark is securely moored to the bottom, unlike the crew as they fly round the bow. And over she goes. But Aquatonic still a perfect race. Dick Parker and the two Budgeon brothers go on to win. Start of race three, Aquatonic make a perfect start at the starboard end of the line. But the boys on the left, Musto, base one, Rockport, take advantage of the bias in the line and cross ahead. First to the top mark, it's Rockport. Tim Robinson making no mistakes on the first beat. Closely followed by Typhoon. Then Aquatonic, trying to avoid that mark. As they come to the leeward mark, it's still Rockport ahead. Sailing a faultless race. Mike Pease chasing behind. They're having a good day, these guys. And then Aquatonic comes through the middle of the fleet, having a good battle with Musto and DBS. Good work by the Budgeons and the Australian Dick Parker. And Rockport sail off into the distance, closely followed by base one. This is Jerome Backer substituting for Dave Hall. And Rockport going down the last run, being pushed hard by Aquatonic. But they keep their heads, and the crew of Jerry Hill, Bruce Grant and Tim Robinson score a first win of the day.
So after the first day, Aquatonic has a 4-point lead over Caterham, Rockport third, DBS well down on points, Typhoon scoring well.
Now meet Russell Peters' family, Emily, Susie and Vicky, supporting a rather worried dad on day 2.
Well, he was quite tense this morning. He's got to really come second in this event to win overall. At the moment he's lying 4th, so he's got quite a lot of work to do.
Do Susie and Emily know what's going on?
They know Daddy's sailing. They definitely know that. They ask, where's Daddy? And it's either work or sailing. And yeah, they know what's going on. Susie loves sitting in the boat when they're rigging it, and yeah, she really gets involved. Emily's a little bit young now, but I'm sure it won't be long until they're hankering to go themselves.
Russell is one of just a handful of skiff sailors with a family, juggling the demands of a full-time job, a top-level sailing campaign, and loved ones isn't easy. He's glad his family have made the 600-mile round trip from Busselton to Pwllheli.
I suspect it eases his conscience slightly. I think he does. Yeah, of course he does. He loves us. Yeah, definitely. I think it's worth it, worth the effort. But perhaps he'd like to have a bit more sleep at night, which he doesn't get when the children are here.
But he's wide awake and raring to go into battle on day 2.
Russell Peters leaves his family to race. Join us after the break to see if he can do enough to hold on to his overall lead in the UK Skiff Grand Prix Series.
Aquatonic by Fabergé.
Get in touch with singles. Call us now on 0891 03 03 03.
I want to change my telephone company. I don't want to change my number. I have a choice. I choose Ionica. Call Ionica now on 08 456 456 456.
Get connected. Call the Gay Network now on 0891 54 54 54.
Swap phone numbers with singles. Call 0891 03 03 03.
Welcome back to Pwllheli for the deciding races in the 1997 Skiff Grand Prix.
Day 2, race 4. Russell Peters making a great start to the committee boat end. But at the leeward end is a massive pile-up between Musto, Aquatonic and Typhoon. Musto capsized, Typhoon still upright, but Aquatonic's completely upside down. Big tangle between these boats. Typhoon's broken its bowsprit. What a mess. Master's got real problems. She's out of the regatta for the day.
What's that then?
Yeah, the crew know it's the end of the race for them. It was a high speed coming together and luckily nobody was hurt. Aquatonic's broken her mast. She's out for the rest of the regatta.
Yeah, I got in a tangle with the typhoon boat coming off the line, which then gave us no steerage because we locked up, and we went straight into Musto head on, and that was the end really. So we're just glad that we didn't kill anyone, I think. I've never been in a crash like that one ever. It was quite scary. Fortunately everyone came out fine, no problem at all. The only casualty was that. Broken the taps and the shrouds on this side, the lowers on this side, and the kicker snapped in two as well. Lucky it was the wire and not us, I think.
Besides the crash and burn, the rest of the fleet get on with racing. And it's Rockport that takes up the running, winning race 4, closely followed by DBS, and the fleet now reduced to only 6 boats.
Blustery conditions, short chop, and making it very difficult for the competitors. 5 seconds to start. DBS over at the port end, going flat out. 2 seconds, 1, gun goes, good start by DBS. Caterham cars to leeward of Rockport. The crew flat out on the wire. Mike Bees with the head cam. Rockport to windward, in control of Caterham, and behind is Oxford Vehicle Leasing and Base 1. DBS going a long way out to the left-hand side, not covering their main competitors. DBS will have to tack soon if they want to get to the windward mark. Gusty conditions in Pwllheli. Boats flying upwind. All 3 crews right on the edge of the racks, out on the trapezes. This is a test of balance, coordination. Crews interlink their legs to stop them from moving around. Great conditions. All these boats using their big rigs. Probably wish they had the small ones up today. Now, which way is it paid to go? Rockport tacks just to windward of Caterham. Poor tack by Mike Bees and his crew. But ahead of Rockport, Oxford Vehicle Leasing. Base 1 is the leader at this time. 3/4 the way up to the windward mark. Base 1 first. Rockport, the first attack on the ley line. Has she judged it correctly? It looks like it. She could get round the top mark before Base 1, who crossed ahead of her.
We'll make it with the wing in the water. We don't make it with the wing in the water.
Rockport underneath Base 1. And these 2 boats approaching the top mark. DBS and Typhoon very close together. Looks like DBS has made the right decision going left. Typhoon has to give DBS room. So first to the top mark, DBS. Good tack by Martin Goodlad. Russell Peters bearing away as the crew frantically hoist the spinnaker now, and DBS is first with the spinnaker up. Base 1 is in. Or can they hold it? Can they hold it upright? Spinnaker's dragging in the water, it's going to pull them over, and the stern goes down. Disaster for them. Struggling hard to get this boat in control, and the bowman's in the water. This is where the conditions tell, and over they go. Spinnaker fills and in they go. But off in the distance is DBS first. Looks like Rockport's taken second place. And Mike Bees is last of the fleet. Rockport are leading overall, just ahead of Mike Bees, and DBS in third place. So DBS will be very pleased with her position going into the jibe, approaching the leeward mark. And close to the leeward mark is Typhoon. Inside, Paul Towers having trouble. Better drop by Typhoon. And Oxford Vehicle Leasing have to go in very wide of the mark. So too is Caterham. The Caterham looks better organised. As we come to the windward mark for the second time, DBS, Rockport second. And third at the top mark is Typhoon, Martin Goodlad, having a good day today. Pulls out, he's falling the water. Having trouble controlling the boat, and over they go. Typhoon are in. All DBS has to do is to hold the boat upright and get through the start finishing line to take first place and to lead overall in the Pwllheli Grand Prix. Caterham Cars crosses the line with another third place.
That win is enough for DBS to hold on to first, Rockport is second, and a hard-charging Mike Bees in third, looking good.
15 seconds to start. Looks like a good position for DBS, but Mike Bees is under him. He's controlling him. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the gun goes. DBS, perfect start. Just to windward of Caterham. Rockport is in a bit of confused air, and at the other end of the line, base one crossing on port, and Oxford Vehicle Leasing. Exciting stuff on base one. Close behind Oxford Vehicle Leasing, a dangerous manoeuvre because they have to keep clear of DBS and Caterham. So a flying start by base one and Oxford Vehicle Leasing. But DBS controlling Rockport and Caterham Cars going to the left-hand side of the course, and further out to the left is Martin Goodlad in Typhoon. There's a big split in the fleet. Typhoon is the first attack on the boats on the left-hand side. Bad tack, put a rack in the water, but she's up and off. Crossing behind DBS, and Caterham Cars tacks next. Two other boats going to the right-hand side. Base one and Oxford Vehicle Leasing. And base one on the group on the right is the first attack as they head towards the top mark. So base one with her flying start looks as if she's going to round the windward mark first. They're doing a good job as they bear away around the top mark. And second, DBS having to tack very close underneath Typhoon. Right, pull the jib! Protest! Protest! DBS! Right, there you come! And Rockport and Caterham, the two leaders in the regatta. Oh, Rockport could be capsized. No, they've kept it upright. Still not easy. And Rockport's in! What a disaster for Tim Robinson.
Looking again, you'll see that Rockport, gusty conditions, the nose goes in, the mainsail goes out too far, the death roll starts, in she goes, and to compound matters, just watch the mast brakes, there it goes.
That'll be about a £500 break. That's nothing. Been out in the bar last night. Oh well. Always next year, eh?
Up at the front, base one leads, Caterham Cars is third, DBS is in second place, and Typhoon, oh look, Typhoon capsizing. See the legs up in the air and over she goes. However, base one slides through the waves, holding a solid lead as they charge downwind. Jerome Backer doing a good job in his first skiff race. Russell Peters nearly losing it.
As we come to the windward mark for the second time, base one, who had a brilliant start, is still leading ahead of Caterham and DBS. And the battle for the overall honours are now between Mike Bees and Russell Peters. Only 4 boats left in the regatta. Only 3 of them upright. Pwllheli's a demolition derby. Oh, a disaster for Russell. You can see them pulling really hard to try and get the spinnaker up and filling. And Russell on the edge of control. It looks as if Russell's going to he's capsized. In they go. So into the lead goes Mike Bees. Mike Bees does a perfect jibe. Crosses ahead of base one. Now base one's in.
Getting the boat up in these conditions is going to be very tricky. And they do the Eskimo roll. As the boat capsizes, they go straight underneath. Rob Dolson with a head cam hanging on for dear life. They eventually get the boat up. Now all they have to do is get the crew on board. This is the view that Rob has. Oh, and he's not able to hold on, and the boat sails off without him. But despite all the carnage, Mike Bees and Caterham cars carry on regardless.
And we approach the windward mark for the last time. Mike Bees in Caterham car showing more experience. Skiff sailors how it should be done. Doing a great job. Bearing away. Keep that bow out of the water. And he's not holding back. Nobody else to race against, but he's still putting his spinnaker up. Great stuff, Mike. And away they go. Spinnaker fills. And watch it take off. Spinning a man on the wire, and up and away she goes. Reveling in these conditions. Short chop. Big spinnaker flying downwind. Mike negotiating the graveyard of the 18-foot skiffs. And Mike Bees laps Russell Peters. Coming down to the finishing line for the last time in complete control. First, Mike Bees. Excellent job, boys. Crossing the line without a spinnaker in second place, a lap behind Mike Bees, is Russell Peters in DBS. And they're very happy on Rockport.
A well-deserved win to Mike Bees, Neil Fitzgerald and Ian Trotter. Rockport's jury rig finish gives them second.
Well, we had a good day yesterday. There was some good racing yesterday and we had some good results, and today it was really just a matter of survival. So we were just trying to get around the course without capsizing, without breaking anything, and other boats had gear failure, which obviously put them out of the running. And we sailed all three races without capsizing, which really did it for us, I think.
It was quite hard. It wasn't so much the wind, it was the waves as well. It made the boat handling very difficult, and we all suffered.
Russell Peters, Greg Wells and Zeb Elliott in DBS take the overall win in the 1997 UK Skiff Grand Prix. Tim Robinson next second, while the strong finish elevates Caterham to third.
Yeah, it was a very demanding day today because it was quite wavy, good breeze. It was just how it should be. I mean, it's great. We should be able to get random days like today. We just made one mistake and capsized at the end. But we've had some good regattas, good wins all year, which we've enjoyed.
Did you like having your family with you?
The thing that does happen is you leave the bar earlier, which saves you a bit of money. So what you're spending on them, you save on drink and getting drunk, and perhaps you sail better for it.
So congratulations to Russell Series, but Pwllheli turned out to be somewhat of a demolition derby. 3 ended up in pieces.
So that brings to an end the Skiff's Grand Prix series. Join us next week in Cowes on the World of Sailing.